Started looking at finding that oil leak that has been bugging us on the forwarder, so searched high and low to see if anything could be seen while my dad operated the machine. Saw the oil tank missed circlips securing it, had an extra mount for it so could check the size of the circlip. I also found some better things to lock that lock pin in place, so reinstalled that on the harvester. Decided to open up the oil tank to have a look underneath that, so getting the link to use the cab to lift it up in place. And it could start come up. So here that the cables I added for that extra main circuit breaker or extra circuit breaker might be a little on the short side when lifting the tank. With tank lifted up, I started realizing there is kind of a channel that if you have an oil leak up on the tank, it should drip out on a hole on the side, and that was plugged. A lot of goo there. Added some circlips to the tank mount. Hard to get video of the inner one. Here I've lost some footage also because there is a bit of play in that hinge, so added a little piece of wood there, so when it's folded down it kind of puts a little pressure up on the tank. Bringing the tank back down. Also checked the oil in the gearbox while the tank was open, since it's a little hard access to the dipstick for that. Had found a few hoses that looked quite bad. It wasn't really that I thought it would be these hoses that caused the issue, but they are connected to the boggi lift, or it's parts that was used for the boggi lift that's been removed from the machine since many years. So decided to remove them to have less pieces down there that are annoying and can cause issues. The little block that sits far deep inside there is a little tricky to get undone, and the hoses down there refused to come undone, so decided to remove the hoses up at the valve block and remove the block with hoses from inside the machine. So I just added plugs that I had actually bought for another thing, but there are two more plugs where they had removed part of the system for the boggi lift when they removed the cylinders and everything. So with the hoses loose at the top, it was back down inside the tub, as I have named this area. The block was held in place with two bolts. The electrical part was removed to have better access to the two bolts holding this block. With the bolts undone, it could be pulled out and the hoses could be dragged along. Since I was in there already, I decided to remove the bracket holding the block also. The wiring that was connected to that block could be unhooked, and I had dummy plugs, so I could plug it up and leave it down there. I connected the the connectors back with the two bolts that held the bracket. It was just a matter of reconnecting the luggage strap holding the remaining hoses and cables going up there. Have some annoying vibration sounds, so decided to remove that link also, just as a precaution, and see if anything changes. The block was brought inside, so the hoses could be removed. The block could be stored in a plastic bag, put it in the pallet where I have the remains from the pump we changed, bolted the tank back up, spent some time on the computer to ensure that the bogey lift function is shut down in the computer also, so you can't accidentally pressurize that function. We did it didn't change the oil leak as I suspected, so another day we cleaned things up and it started dripping out from that hole, so we were quite certain it was at the top of the oil tank somewhere. And we found one of the hoses going out from the hydraulic package had a little leak where it was pressed on. Several of the hoses going out from this valve block feeding the crane looks quite bad, so I have decided to replace all of them. That will be in a future video.